is the man who started the subreddit The Fappening? Well, he goes by Johns McJohn, and recently the Washington Post wrote a pretty lengthy piece about him without revealing his actual name, although it seems as though the reporters know exactly who he is. Now, they did a little bit of an investigation, and they revealed some pretty specific information about him, although, again, they did not release his actual name. What I find funny and very ironic about this story is, even though this is the guy who made the leaked photos of these celebrities widely available on Reddit and the internet as a whole, he was really upset that the Washington Post had the audacity to release private information about his personal life. So before we get to all of that, this story made me reflect a little bit.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, that's interesting, because I thought you were going to say, this story made you go, what now?
In the beginning, yes, but then I reflected in a different way, and I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. So first, let me give you the details that the Washington Post did reveal about him. It kind of draws this interesting profile of this guy that, is a little different from what I expected. Let me give you a few examples. So John's social footprint seems to indicate a guy who falls on the radical transparency side of the spectrum, who believes in making personal information public, no matter how intimate or embarrassing it turns out to be. The Washington Post was able to cross-reference multiple blogs, accounts, and public records, as well as John McJohn's 3 years of activity on Reddit, to construct a portrait of the 33-year-old Nevadan who took J-Law's nudes mainstream. Okay, so the Post is not revealing John's real name or accounts linked to his real name out of concern for his privacy, which I actually really love. I like that the Washington Post did that, because here's the thing. I'm a consistent motherfucker, right?
That's what you are.
No, I am. When it comes to privacy, I don't give a shit if it's the NSA. I don't care if it's the Washington Post. I don't care if it's hackers. I don't care if it's Reddit. I respect privacy. No one should hack into anyone's profile or accounts, and no one should leak private information about anyone. So I like that the Washington Post didn't reveal what his identity is.
Right. If they're criticizing him for perpetuating these leaks, well, then it's principled not to leak his name. Although they got all this information from public records. They didn't hack into his account.
Correct.
So I think that's totally different if you ask me. So I think maybe they're a little over-principled in this case.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But to be even more fair to him, which in a lot of ways he doesn't deserve, he goes by his handle, not his actual name in all of these accounts.
I understand. And one more thing, just so we're absolutely clear on this, he's not the one who hacked in and got the photos. He happens to have set up the subreddit that was the most viewed, and so a lot of the pictures would get taken down from different places, but this subreddit would have the pictures, and a lot of people viewed it because of him.
Yes.
That's the logic here.
All right, so now let's get to the juicy tidbits about his life. According to his personal blog, Twitter, and LinkedIn profile, John has spent much of the past 5 years ping-ponging through a smattering of short-term odd jobs on the West Coast. He played professional poker, he yo-yoed on the Vegas Strip, he applied to be an Apple genius without success.
Oh, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Okay, so it's obvious what the Washington Post is doing here. We won't reveal his name, but look at this guy. Oh, you want to reveal people's pictures? Okay, Mr. Not So Apple Genius, right? I don't even know what it means to yo-yo in the Strip.
I think it's literally yo-yoing for money, like tips on the Strip. Like, you know how when you're walking down the Vegas Strip, like there's performers and stuff? Yeah.
They do something like that? Okay. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, when you walk down the Vegas Strip, like you'll see people that are dressed in like funny costumes, and they're expecting you to take pictures with them and tip them. But this guy like does yo-yo tricks.
Oh, they put a hatchet in this guy, man. They put the most embarrassing description of him possible. So but the part-time professional poker player might be the most embarrassing. I know I play a lot of poker. Okay. Dudes, go home, get a job. I love your brother, but you're working too hard anyway, right? It's not worth it.
The only thing they left off was, and you've seen on the Vegas Strip going.
Yes, there are people who have like porn cards and like escort service cards in their hands, and like as you're walking by them on the Vegas Strip, they'll do the.
Okay.
I'm trying to get your attention. You're like, I don't want those nudes.
Right.
Anyway.
I think I can find a strip club in Vegas. Thank you very much. Okay.
Anyway.
So what else do we know about Johns McJohns?
All right, so he had actually tweeted about some of his financial issues, and he wrote something along the following, that $100 is needed to keep utilities on. Thank you for any help you can give me. So the guy obviously had some financial issues, and also outside of the Fappening, he's also a moderator and active member of Reddit's cocaine forum, where he advises other users on the intricacies of finding safe dealers, snorting lines, and passing drug tests after you've used.
Jesus.
On asexuality.org and wrongplanet.net forums for people who are asexual and have autism, respectively, John has detailed his struggle with undiagnosed Asperger's and his gradual realization that he wasn't attracted to anyone. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there.
Yeah, no muss. I'm calling off too. We got more quotes, but now I see what you're saying. When you really get into the nitty-gritty of his life, even though he's the one that allowed everybody, in a lot of ways, to get into the nitty-gritty of people's personal lives, private pictures that they took. When you got to the $100 utility bill that he couldn't pay, I was like, you know what?
You just feel sick. Like, even though I don't know who this guy is and his identity hasn't been revealed, like, you get this profile of a guy who's gone through like some serious struggles in his life, who continues to go through serious struggles in his life. Asexuality is not something to laugh about. You know, being unable to pay your bills is nothing to laugh about. And then all of a sudden I went from like despising this guy to feeling sympathy for him, and not necessarily like, oh, you know, and look, everyone's a mixed bag. No one is perfect. There are gradations in personality and all of that, right? I don't want his personal details all over the internet. The only reason why I shared it with you guys is because we don't know who he is, right? But if we had known his name, I wouldn't have read these things, because it's none of our freaking business, right?
Yeah, no, look, he's not doing the right thing by trying to keep the private pictures where people, literally the most intimate, private moments of their lives, and he's releasing it to the whole world. They were stolen in the first place, etc. But our principle is don't hit a weaker guy, right? And so you're right. By the end of the story, I felt like I'm glad we don't know his name, because it's just, if the shoe's on the other foot, he should think about that, right? And I wish he would think that through more clearly. But we don't need to do this to him, so.
Yeah, and I do want to read you his statements about the Washington Post piece. He says, why is my being on an asexuality website or an Asperger's board relevant to my work on the Fappening? I decided Thursday that I wouldn't delete my account, and if the press wants to send me through the ringer, so be it. I won't be bullied into silence. I don't like it, but so be it. The Nixon administration couldn't stop the Washington Post, so I didn't try to stop them. Also, I paid my gas bill in case anyone cares.
Yes, yeah. Look, in some ways he's unrepentant, and he thinks that it's some sort of life's work to put out people's naked pictures. In other ways, I'm glad he paid his gas bill, and I hope that he stops putting up the nude links to the nude pictures, and I hope we stop talking about them.